Okay, here we go. We are live this morning, and I hope we are. It is Thursday, February 3rd. A lot of storms coming today, I guess, snow and ice and everything else. So it's a typical winter day, I think. First item this morning, it's an update on motor vehicle inspection program. And we have four folks that are with us this morning. We'll start off with Wanda, I believe, the Commissioner of Department of Motor Vehicles. Wanda, are you with us?
Good morning. Yes, I am. Welcome to this beautiful morning. And for the record, Wanda Manoli.
Oh, wow, you got a new set. You got a new setting today. Look at that. Wow.
I'm in my office.
All right.
Yep. You know, just bouncing around. Yep. So Senator Mazza, on the agenda, the first thing that we have is Anthony Fakos, the director of our Enforcement and Safety Division, is going to do a brief overview on his division, some of their accomplishments, and for the committee, and answer any questions. And then at approximately 9:15, 9:20, we're going to move into sticker on demand, unless you want to do it sooner.
No, that's fine. Whatever you got scheduled for us, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So, Director Fakos.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. For the record,
we thought the Enforcement Division is an important division, and we thought we'd get a little update on it.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Tony Fakos, the Director of Enforcement and Safety Division here at DMV. I've been here for about a year and a half now, and I just wanted to go over some things that the team here has accomplished and kind of the breakdown on how we function. So the first thing coming into this role was to get to know the division, understand their mission, and kind of assess what are their immediate needs and their long-term needs. So things that I evaluated and we made improvements on, but look, equipment training specific to law enforcement, implemented a host of critical task policies. We unfortunately, being kind of a smaller shop, we don't have some of the policy support mechanisms that are in larger agencies such as DPS. One of the ideas when the day before I even started was, hey, we need to do this sticker on demand inspection program innovation. So that's certainly been a focal point for accomplishments, and I'll get into that later. And there are also some other innovative things that have happened with Captain Kevin Andrews, who oversees our commercial vehicle operations. And recently he was recognized, matter of fact, well, it was actually last fall, but we were notified from the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration recognizing his accomplishments with an innovative technology deployment grant that was multi-years in the making, and it came to fruition last year, called CView, the Commercial Vehicle Information Exchange Window, which is a great asset to not only enforcement, but also supporting industry. So and probably the most, I think, a significant change we did make is restructuring the department itself. When I got here, I came from a traditional policing background, and we were very siloed. For example, if a detective wanted to become a commercial vehicle inspector, that was like, he or she had to apply, just like everybody in the outside world. So what we did was through the reclassification process, they're all inspectors. Yeah, you might come into the world of DMV working as a detective, or you will be commercial vehicle enforcement. But it's but they're just all inspectors. And what we've done is we've had detectives that have since transferred over to one side or the other, and it's really helped create more of that cohesive law enforcement feel for the department. And lastly, before we get to the separate divisions, we also started, just an awards recognition ceremony, which we did last September. And there were 4 awards that were given out. One was for called the Robert Rossier Award, Robert Ross here was the uninspector that lost his life on duty many years ago, back in the 30s, on a motorcycle accident of all things, while on patrol for the Vermont Highway Patrol, before it was the DMV. And for example, that was given to Detective Dan Merchant, who was instrumental in a couple of federal cases that resulted from taking, like, for example, a stolen inspection sticker and worked that investigation with multiple partners, including the DEA, and it resulted in multiple arrests in various states, specifically New Jersey, and resulted in the seizure of over 30,000 bags of heroin, again from a stolen inspection sticker. We also had a life-saving award, a traffic safety award, and a director's award. And the director's award was given to a non-sworn person, and that was Michael Southworth, who is part of the restructuring. He's now the supervisor of the administrative unit, and he is our point person for really leading the charge now with Sticker on Demand. So the division is broken down into 4 units. Education unit, where we have driver's education, responsible for regulating and supporting driver education schools and instructors across the state. Another innovative accomplishment is the Drive VT online tutorial, help preparing new drivers and being successful in getting their permit. And then we have the Vermont Rider Education Program, and that is the motorcycle curriculum, where it's a partnership with the Motorcycle Safety Foundation. And we have 9 sites around the state where we provide training and motorcycles for that program. And during the season, we'll have upwards of 40 seasonal employees that are active rider coaches for that program. And then school bus safety and education. And there we partnered with the Agency of Education, and our unit supervisor of the education unit is also member of the Vermont School Crisis Planning Team, because what happens on school buses is also very much included into overall safety when we think about what happens to, how do we maintain safety off campus. So the supervisor there is Pat McManaman, who actually is a retired lieutenant from DMV enforcement, but he's still staying and still serving the DMV. And he's also pointing out that he's currently the president of the National Association of State Directors of Pupil Transportation Services, which represents all 50 states. So again, Little Vermont is leading on a national level. So getting into the investigations unit, unit's comprised of 7 sworn inspectors and 5 non-sworn field inspectors, and the unit is led by Captain Scott Davidson. So things that the investigations team works on. First of all, Captain Davidson and the team really ushered in the AVIP, the Automated Vehicle Inspection Program in 2017. They provide business-related support, education, setups of businesses, as well as closeouts and investigations, which include anything from faulty inspections, DMV rule violations related to inspection stations and dealers, fraud cases, consumer protection. They work closely also with the Attorney General's office and the Consumer Assistance Program. Then they also will deal on the criminal side with financial crimes related to industry and the DMV. So they also manage the state's total absence program and violations of, when there's a suspected violation of somebody in that program. That's a pretty lengthy, in-depth investigation that is done, and that happens with the sworn personnel. And then they work with we work with law enforcement partners, both in-state and across the country. On the commercial vehicle enforcement unit, and I think that's what I think DMV is most known for, and that's generally the truck team, and that's the uniform side of the house, and they carry out the MIGSAP, which is the Motor Carrier Safety Assistance Program, and high priority grants. They're critical to highway safety. For example, the truck fire that recently occurred in Berlin on exit 7, where the cab was fully involved, that believed to be all started from a wheel bearing problem. So again, when you think about some of these little details and the significance they have, these are things that again, part of our service to industry is through these, inspections and these and the details when the trucks roll in, is that we look for any signs of, of wear and tear and something that's not being taken care of, or something that just happened. Tuesday, there was a truck rolled into one of our details, and the trailer, again, something overheated and caught fire, and our inspectors happened to be there. They were able to extinguish the fire of the trailer flatbed before the fire department arrived. So again, and I think it's really important, just because of these might not seem to be big deal violations or safety issues, but we think about when law enforcement can and cannot stop. I just want to say that it's important that we have these critical interactions with the motoring public, whether it's cars, trucks, or commercial vehicles. The mission also for the commercial vehicle side it's to protect our infrastructure. Overweight, size violations. We have logging trucks that are 10, 15,000 pounds overweight. That's a lot of unplanned, unnecessary wear and tear on our highways and roadways. So, and then they're also do a lot of industry support in education. We have 4 non-sworn individuals that one of whom is full-time. He's a safety and safety auditor investigator. And they'll work with industry to say, hey, this is how you navigate the federal rules, the state requirements, and making sure that they're set up for success. And then lastly, we have the administrative unit, and that's kind of the team that provides the glue that keeps it all together and functioning. So that we have things that the admin unit that they'll work on: abandoned vehicles, they issue the light permits. They manage the commercial vehicle crash data management for CVE, general law enforcement queries, both local and national. And again, the records regarding the total absence program status and division records. And then within that team, there's the inspections clerk unit, and the unit supervisor, Michael Southworth, again, led the sticker on demand implementation and manage through the work there in support with the investigations unit. We're working with over 1,100 inspection stations that we consider our partners in, again, the overall highway public safety mission. And then we have the dealer services clerk, and she handles day-to-day needs of Vermont's nearly 550 automotive and recreational vehicle dealers. And she has already begun working on a digital resource for dealers, and eventually want to get to the point where we're going to come up with a good solution to replace the dealer's guide, and making it really easy and effective for anybody. If they have a question on something with a title, they can, don't have to sift through 168-page PowerPoint, but they can go right to the slides that are germane to what they're trying to accomplish. And lastly, there's a little something about from my testimony regarding the Agency of Public Safety. I just want to our inspectors do a lot, and one of the things that sets this team apart is we don't hire brand new candidates that have never been a police officer before. Because of the specialty work that's done, we really want to make sure that these candidates that come in to work for DMV have a broad background in law enforcement and a proven track record. Because once they come into working with us, then they have to go through a variety of specialty schools, whether they're investigations or the required federal motor carrier training and certifications to a variety of levels on the commercial vehicle side of the house. We have 2 canines. One is a full patrol canine. The other one is and his name is Jonah. The other dog is Annie, and she's an adorable little black lab with a great nose. So again, those dogs are trained to look for contraband, tracking, and in the case of Jonah being a fully certified patrol canine. And we have deployed those resources to assist, again, our law enforcement partners when dogs, there's only so many dogs around the state, and both of these dog teams happen to be more in the northeast corner of the state. We provide instructors to the Vermont Police Academy, where we cover material such as criminal law, motor vehicle law, use of force, patrol procedures, and VIN verification. And the other thing that we're pretty proud of too is that the DMV Enforcement and Safety Division has 4 command staff personnel who are graduates of the prestigious FBI National Academy in Quantico, Virginia. And that's the highest number of graduates in any Vermont law enforcement agency right now. So we're very proud of that fact. So with that, that's kind of the down and dirty overview of the Enforcement and Safety Division.
One of the things that I've been on a few of these parties, they have them there when they stop trucks. But one of the things that impressed me when the truck drives in, there's some identification on a truck that you also know who the company, a lot about the driver before he even gets there. Is that right?
Yep. That's the and what's really enhanced that is that C-View system that I mentioned earlier, the Commercial Vehicle Information Exchange window. So with that, we can know right away what the company's rating is. If there's making sure they're in compliance, if it's an interstate vehicle versus an interstate vehicle, and so forth. So it gives us a ton of information.
That was very impressive to see that, because you in your vehicle, your trailer, it pops up whatever it is, so before that truck gets to as they pull off, a lot about that truck. I guess that's And the other quick question, the emissions, it seems to be a lot cleaner now from trucks. Is that a standard that's being adopted nationwide? You don't see the black smoke like you used to. I think that, because I know you used to check those occasionally. Yeah,
I will say we have not been able to do emissions work unless it's something that's obvious right now. Where our mission success, where we have certainly been able to document great success, is with the AVIP program itself, where we've taken emission failures from in 2017 upwards. They were in the neighborhood of vehicles that were failing. I want to say it was around 17%, and we're so proud with how it's been currently managed with the current waiver. That figure is now just over 4% failure rate. Wow. So Vermont has done a great job in a very short period of time through our inspection program.
Good. Any questions at this point? Just thought we'd get a quick overview. Any committee members?
Yep. Senator Mazza.
Yes, go right ahead, Senator Eagles.
Director, I'm glad to hear you mention the success of the past stickers, of expired stickers, and pulling these vehicles over. And that's what I'm hearing from the rank and file that I speak with, that the success of those expired stickers turns into great things sometimes. I'm hoping, and I know you guys have done your homework, but I'm hoping the place where you guys are placing these stickers and what they're going to look like is still going to afford law enforcement chances to check these vehicles out that have expired, that they're obvious. And I will say, change is hard on everybody. I will say that the color coded and where they were located before was pretty handy. You'd go by a station and they'd say, well, if you've got a green sticker, it's time to pull in here or whatever. So I'm hoping that these stickers will act as well as the other ones did. I do like the ease of these inspection stations being able to pull them up on demand. I hope that they're going to be as effective as stopping crime as the last ones were.
Okay. Yep. All right. Go ahead. We're going to get into the inspection stickers anyway, aren't we? Yeah.
So,
that's another. Yes, Senator Kitchell.
Senator Mazza.
Yes.
I wanted to ask. Certainly, from what we hear in the news, traffic stops really pose significant danger to law enforcement officials. And I'm just wondering, are you experiencing it with your inspectors? I know that they have different markings than the state police in terms of I think they're maybe all in the trucks. I'm not sure. But I was just wondering, in terms of experience around these traffic stops, or when you're doing these inspections, have your officers, maybe the state police can reference it well, but it does seem like there's kind of an inherent risk because it's so unknown what you're dealing with.
Absolutely, Senator. they're still police officers, and in matter of fact, because there's a lot of things that they don't do on a regular basis. When you think about training, you think about what are the highest risk things that any police officer, regardless of the mission, will face, and yet it's a low frequency, and that's kind of where you want to focus your training. So we certainly do that with both de-escalation and our tactical training. One of the things that every one of our inspectors has is appropriate protective equipment now and tools in the event of, for example, several weeks ago, we assisted Border Patrol and Vermont State Police with a call of an active shooter up on the Derby line. We had 3 inspectors that responded. And we've responded to robberies as well. And again, supporting. There's only so many law enforcement officers to go around the state of Vermont. And one of the things that happened in Virginia last March, that at a truck stop at one of the details with Virginia State Police and the Virginia truck team, an SUV just pulled in. A woman got out. She was shot right away by the other person in the vehicle, and then he subsequently was shot and killed by the inspectors and troopers on scene. Anything can happen, and we certainly know that. I know there's a lot of attention to building trust and legitimacy, rethinking how we are maintaining public safety, what we are doing. At the same time, statistically, it's never been more dangerous. When we look at just this past last week alone, several. I think 4 police officers were shot and killed in this country between New York City and Virginia. So that's when we think about officer safety, officer wellness, even just the trauma. I mean, our inspectors, because they're sprinkled throughout the state, just like the Vermont State Police, might see 2 fatalities in a week, and that and those things take their overall they take their when you have a car versus a 80,000 pound tractor trailer, it doesn't usually have a good outcome. So all these things we're aware of for our safety of our inspectors out there.
Okay. All
Senator
right.
Nancy,
Yes, go ahead, Senator.
I have a quick question, and sorry if I missed this. Are you having the same kind of difficulties that other law enforcement officials have been telling us about recruitment and retention, or is it different in your division?
Our division has been successful so far, Senator. And unfortunately, just by the very nature, as I said earlier, because we do seek full-time certified officers, it now has our success may have an adverse impact to other agencies, and we are sensitive to that. And I also, in my conversations with Colonel Jason Batchel of the Warden Service, they're also experiencing, they've always had very strong interests, so they're doing okay, but it's not like it used to be. So far we have been able to be successful to maintain our ranks, but it's not, even now we're just getting a handful of qualified applicants that we can even interview.
Okay. All right. Okay, Wanda, we're back to you, I believe. Or how do you want me to go down the list, or what would you like me to do?
No, I think this is perfect. So I just want to say to the committee, we are here to discuss sticker on demand. I know we provided an overview when we presented just the goals and accomplishments of DMV. I want to say to the committee, supporting this initiative was really important to us. And it's important to the Vermont businesses that issue the stickers. And, just without getting into the minutia of how we operate the stickers and the frauds and the concerns, it's a very manual process. It's we require Vermont businesses to put money into an escrow account, which does not make sense. We issue stickers in books of 20, and they have to return them back, which it's a very manual process. It's not a productive process. And moving to sticker on demand, and remember, I have to charge them for that inventory. And if they don't use it, then it has to come back to DMV. And it's just simply, it's not efficient. Our inspection stations have to manually write on the back of the sticker and transfer all of the information. And with this initiative that Director Fakos and his team really helped lead, and the support, we are advancing for our partners, an opportunity to do sticker on demand, which means it's issued at the time that a vehicle passes inspection. They don't have to track this inventory in the way they do today. We're not taking their money in advance and having them pay up front. They get billed monthly for the number of stickers that they issued. And this has just been a wonderful project. I would like Director Fakos to just highlight where we're at, what we've accomplished to date, and talk about his outreach to the businesses and to law enforcement and where we stand, if that's acceptable.
Why the sticker going on the left hand down in the corner instead of where it is now? Because if someone asked me the other day, well, how are they going to scrape that off down the corner and all the junk's going to fall down the corner? Are the stickers?
Director Fakos, do you want to talk about this?
Yeah.
Sure. One is we want to be more in line with other states. You will traditionally see that in those stickers in the lower left. Also, one of the new features of the sticker on demand solution, because again, we're using innovation and technology, is there a QR code that's really the most important thing for law enforcement with that sticker. In the past, if you had a sticker that's in the center, it has handwriting in the back, both the vehicle identification number as well as the mechanic and the inspection station. So as we're trying to reduce fraud and also reduce station and business burglaries, that's one of the crime reduction strategies behind this as well. But that QR code will allow law enforcement to safely in this location as well. Once we have the secure scan capability, I'll get into that in a second, they'll be able to see the full vehicle inspection report. So they'll know, besides what they're going to see on that sticker. So if it says it's a 2005, Ford Bronco, it'll also have numbers related to the VIN, but the QR code will allow law enforcement to say, okay, it was inspected at station XYZ, and it is that vehicle, and they'll know the status of that inspection from the inspection report. And it's not.
Oh, go ahead.
So it's not something that any buddy that just takes their iPhone and scans. Again, it's going to have a secure login, so there is security features for law enforcement, and the information that's on there is specific to the vehicle, not personal information as well. But at least it lets law enforcement know that they either have a fraudulent inspection or a counterfeit sticker, basically, and they'll know the status of that.
How will the auto owner know? Is it going to be written on site when it expires? How would they know that? Can they read it down the corner?
So what will be on the it'll be printed. I apologize for this, but I don't know if you can see that. So what you'll have on the left side of the actual sticker, you'll have the month and year of inspection. So the color will remain the same to Senator Engel's point earlier, but it's going to give us law enforcement clear information to when it expires and information there. Also, if you try to peel this, it has the other safety features are inherent in the hologram, the way there's a breakaway strip. And so there's a lot of features that are built into this whole project that
it'll peel off. You won't have to scrape it.
There'll be some, yes, there'll be some you'll have to scrape on the edges, at the edges of it all the way around, but not the full sticker like in the past.
Okay, because that was a concern. How do you get down that corner with a razor blade or something? And it's going to cause a lot of junk down in there, all the scraps. And I didn't know if it's peeled off.
Should be cleaner. I have not peeled inspection sticker since my high school days working in a garage. But yes, seeing the design, there should be less adhesive material than what traditionally you had in the past.
Because I can see that someone complaining about all this stuff forming in the bottom down in the corner. Right. So just a thought. Okay.
Can I ask a question, Chair?
Yes, go right ahead.
So, Tony, I always forget titles. I'm sorry. I hope you're okay with me calling you Tony.
Yeah.
So I heard you just say that only law enforcement would be able to decode the QR code. So you're saying these are in fact encrypted, and when I take my phone out and look at that QR code, I'm going to get something that is undecipherable. Or if I take it to my mechanic and he wants to see who last inspected it, will they be able to scan the QR code and get a history of the inspections?
They'll be able to track it through the AVIT system. So the businesses will be able to have that information. But again, but as far as at this point, we don't have it operational yet, but that scan capability will be encrypted.
Thanks.
Questions? Any other questions?
So
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
could I
Go ahead,
just-
Tony. Yep.
Yeah, last year you heard me. I forgot to mention this in the division overview. We talked about the electric motorcycle. Just wanted to give you an update that is operational. Even though it wasn't operational until very late in the season, but it's turned out to be a fantastic tool. And just anecdotally, even in September, August, September, Inspector Nesto was regularly getting violators, in the 90s to over 100 miles an hour during rush hour, coming up on exit 14, 15 in that area. And that can be one of the traffic safety corridors. So because the motorcycle is just been very effective there. And we're also proud to say that after the work we've done with Harley Davidson and some of the former experts from California Highway Patrol, I've been out there. They rode that bike, they evaluated, and they're part of the R&D program for both CHP in the past, as well as currently for Harley Davidson. And our bike is officially the first in the world. And also and they're replicating it for some other departments right now at a local level. Marquette University, Penn State, and the NYPD is also very interested in our platform. So just a little point of pride, and again, using innovation and technology. We're just not quite there yet with the electric police cars. We just had a meeting with Ford last week about the Mach-E, as well as the potential for the Lightning and other platforms. So they tell us that they don't have anything ready to go for the police fleets specifically until they anticipate maybe 2025. So that was a little disappointing, but we're going to get there.
Have you allowed Commissioner Manoli to drive the motorcycle yet, or is that?
She has not driven. She did drive a live wire motorcycle.
Okay. Okay. We have Lieutenant Tara Thomas, the Department of Public Safety, and we have Acting Lieutenant Paul Revlon from the Department of Public Safety. You folks, thank you for joining us today. Would you like to add to the conversation?
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, committee. I'm actually officially here to pass the torch to Sergeant Paul Revlon. Back in September, my assignment changed, so I'm now the station commander of the Williston Barracks, and Sergeant Revlon is taking over for Special Operations Traffic Safety Unit. He is a 17-year vet with the Vermont State Police, all of that 17 years he's been a uniformed trooper on the road. 15 of it was in Williston. Last year and a half was in St. Albans. And in September, he was assigned to the Special Operations, where we kind of passed the torch. He has drug recognition expert experience for 8 years. He's been on the bomb squad for the last 13. So this is kind of like my official thank you for allowing me the opportunities to testify in the last few years. And moving forward, your go-to for traffic safety will be Sergeant Revlon.
Well, I can't tell you how excited I am to see the new Williston Barracks being built. That's something we've been talking about for years, to get you out of that warehouse place over there, which is terrible. I don't know how you get in and out of there without getting killed or something every day, but that's going to be a good. And also, thank you.
They can turn on their siren and their lights. It's a
Oh my
dangerous
God,
spot.
it's terrible. I'm so pleased we're finally making that process, that move.
But that gas station right there isn't any help.
It
it's not.
never was intended for. Never was intended. The place is an old garage, a barn, and I don't know. Every day they go to work. It's not. We had to fix the windows a couple of years ago. You could throw a cat through them, and it wasn't very safe or anything else for that place. Also, thank you very much for the service you provide to Vermont, all the police officers, despite some municipalities don't respect their police department. We certainly, I think you'd be surprised, and many throughout the state really thank you folks every day for all the service you provide in law enforcement everywhere. So thank you very much for that. Okay.
Thank you, Senator.
Will Acting Lieutenant Paul Revlon, that's what you'd like to turn it over to at this point?
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, committee, for the invitation. Like Lieutenant Thomas said, I've worked my entire 17 years on the road, driving green and gold around and stopping some of the cars and the violations that we're talking about this morning. So, you know, I'm clearly in support of a robust vehicle inspection system program, and I'm well aware of the police involvement in that system, what our part is. In listening to some of the testimony this morning was like, where does law enforcement fit into the whole picture? You know, so when I hear there's changes to the system, I get cautious, because when it relates to safety, it's really important to us. You know, I'm aware of several crashes. I myself investigated a fatal crash as a result of poor vehicle condition. The bottom of the car was rotted out. The car was struck broadside, and a juvenile male was killed in the crash, just because none of the support was where it needed to be because of the car was rotted out. It was a failure in the structure, which probably would have been caught in or should have been caught in the inspection system. So program. So in reading this new initiative, it's great. I'm a big fan of it. All the information that's readily available to law enforcement officers. There was a comment earlier about the dangers related to motor vehicle stops and law enforcement being exposed outside of their vehicle on an interstate. You know, having the inspection sticker located in the lower left corner makes it easier for us to verify the information versus trying to reach over or view the center of the windshield. So that is good. The available information on the code and the QR code. Right now, law enforcement officers can log into another system in their vehicles to try to access that current inspection status. That requires additional information or additional time of looking away from the vehicle in front of you or stop on the side of the road. So this quick access is a welcome addition, and then having all that information readily available. A couple of questions that I have that from enforcing invalid or expired inspection stickers that I have is it appears that it's going to be a monthly issue, 1 through 12. Current inspection stickers are issued on an even year basis, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And my only question would be, if we're going to go to monthly, some of the things that for me, if I drive by a vehicle in let's say September, would I be able to read it quick enough to realize it's either an 8 or a 9 to differentiate between the years in the month of that year? And then obviously we talked about the color of the sticker. That was helpful for a quick identification while driving by the vehicle in an opposite direction or sitting in a U-turn, seeing it drive by, understanding that year. Now, I know these numbers are more bold and on a clearer background, so it might not be an overall issue, but those are some of the questions that I have. And then lastly was, it appears that the lower section of the sticker is holographic. So that aids law enforcement in identifying a valid sticker during the daylight hours. The sun reflects a certain way, adds kind of like a rainbow effect, if you will, on the hologram. And that makes a quick identification that the sticker hasn't been printed on someone's computer. And there are troopers who are prosecuting civil violations for fraudulent inspection stickers that have stickers posted all along their desks waiting to go to traffic court of people that attempted to print this off their computer. And basically it was picked up on the traffic stop because it wasn't holographic. So I know there's a little strip at the bottom that may aid in that, but was there any consideration about making the entire sticker holographic? Those were the 3 questions that I had, but overall, I think it's great to see the innovation. It's great to see the new ideas. And it looks like a lot of thought has gone into the information that's needed quickly to ensure that the vehicle is inspected, the sticker wasn't stolen, and that it does match the vehicle. So that's really all I have. I think it's great. And, as we continue to do our piece, law enforcement continues to do their piece. We appreciate the thought that goes into these types of things.
One of the things over the years we've heard about, and thank God it's getting so much better, is some inspection stations would just, if you drive in, you turn your headlights on, they throw a sticker on the car. At least now they have to go through every detail, check it off. If you're going to charge $40, $45, whatever it is, that's a good money maker for most garages. You ought to do the job. And we all heard these over the years. I used to get complaints about, people drive up, guy come out, put a sticker on your car, it's $40 or whatever it is. And you
Yes,
heard
sir.
those stories. And, they didn't get paid for their work. Now you have to spend the time on the car and exactly go down the list of everything that's been done to that car. And that, to me, that's the greatest achievement I've heard over the years, because if you're going to pay to have your car inspected, it should be inspected properly and not just throw a sticker on it and get your money and run. So I think this is going to even more so. It's been good now, but I think it's even probably better. But any questions or any answers to your questions, Wanda, or anybody want to? Any of those
Thank you,
concerns?
Senator Mazza, and committee members. I think it's really important that, that DMV meet with the lieutenant and walk through some of the security enhancements and address some of his concerns. And I think share the logic behind some of the business decisions that were made on how we'd be issuing the sticker, if that's acceptable.
Okay.
Unless you'd like us to address some of those items now.
No, that's all right. No, we can.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions from the committee? I can't see everybody on the screen, so just jump right in.
Chair Mazza.
Yes, go right ahead, Senator Chittenden.
So I love that legislators get these really nice plates, which I haven't put on yet. Senator Kitchell was struggling with getting her car license. So can we also have legislators just get, registered? Can we also have legislators get free inspection, make it easier? Has that come up before? Is that an option?
I don't use my plates, and I do try to get inspected, which I've been working on.
The 1950 car, isn't there 49 like that?
It just struck me though, for 2 years, we have not had to endure winter commutes. As someone who has commuted from Danville to Montpelier or Waterbury since 1973, I have to admit, it's kind of you sort of think about the amount of time you spend on winter driving and what Route 2 is like. But this year, it's just amazing. I'm sure the traffic volume has got to have been influenced by COVID in terms of what's on the road and who needs to be traveling. But
they're all traveling faster, though. That's what gets you. The speed is unbelievable. I don't know what's going on.
I agree. And you experience it on the interstate. I mean, the interstate, everybody's going at least 75 to 80. But even on Route 2, coming out of St. Johnsbury, I was just amazed. You could see someone coming up behind and weaving in and out. And so it's even being experienced on this, the state highways as well. Speed is a real problem. And then you combine it with treacherous road conditions, and it's a recipe for something bad to happen.
Senator Mazza?
Yes, go right ahead, Senator Perchlik.
Do we have data? I mean, I hear that a lot since the pandemic, that speeding is higher. And I think maybe Chief Fakos or others have come in and said that, but do we have data that it is worse? Like, are people going faster? Or is that just kind of our perception? Does anybody have any data on that? Okay.
So we get our traffic crash data, and this year, or the year of 2021, we had 74 fatalities on the roadways, with 68 of those fatal crashes, resulting in 74 fatalities. and a significant number of those were related to excessive speeds, high speeds. And then another large group of those was related to impairment. So the combination of the impairment and the high rates of speed, our seatbelt use is kind of staying the same. It's not improving. It's not really decreasing. It's not where we would hope it to be, but that was kind of on par for previous years. But yes, speed and impaired driving have been two significant factors in this past 2021 year of fatal crashes.
I
That
assume
corridor between exit 14 and 16 in Winooski and South Burlington, it's 55, and I swear they go through their 75. It's just ridiculous. I mean, you go 55 and they give you the finger. I mean, get out of the way. It's crazy.
You're doing your part to slow the traffic down.
Yeah, but they're upset. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, thank you for that information. But if there's any data, like are there more tickets that are like the average? I don't know. Maybe you just don't keep that data, but I guess it doesn't really matter. We know it's a problem regardless. Also, Chief Fakos or Commissioner Manoli, do you have a press release? I wanted to send about the electric motorcycle. I looked real quick. I didn't see anything. I remember last year there was some information on electric motorcycle that you gave to the committee, but I didn't know if there was some kind of press release or something like that that I could use to send out to others.
We did not do a press release, but we do have some general information where, it's sort of, it's in that format.
Right.
And I think Tony has some great talking points and some information. And I just want to highlight when he talks about Harley Davidson and the partnership, we were also able to partner with a Vermont, business and emphasize, that while these are electric motorcycles, there was quite a bit of work that had to go into wiring it, balancing the motorcycle for equipment that law enforcement needs. And our business that partnered with them really came up with the wiring infrastructure for law enforcement to use this tool. So we will get you that information.
Yeah,
and
great.
I'm proud of that, Tony, as well.
Yeah, any little handout that you have, you can send, that'd be great. I'll help promote the good work that you've done.
Okay, any other questions, concerns? Great presentation. Thank everybody this morning for that. And tell Colonel Birmingham that we wish he'd have been here so I could pick on him a little bit. And so disappointed. All right. So, all right. Thanks again for all you do. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Senator Mazza,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Senator Mazza, you have one more witness.
One more witness. I'm sorry. Oh, Bob Cody. I'm sorry. Bob. Yes.
Thank you, Senator. And
I'm sorry. I
Transportation Committee.
apologize.
No worries. No
I
worries.
had you right down here, and the last thing I'll do is forget you. You know what I mean? God.
I'm just here to
Yeah.
say that Director Fakos and Commissioner Manoli have done a wonderful job. We're a beta tester for this new sticker presentation, on
Okay.
vehicles. I agree with the law enforcement officers that it is going to be better to have it on the lower left-hand corner, because now with these new 3/4 ton and 1 ton trucks, it's almost impossible to get up to the sticker that's in the middle of the windshield. We sometimes have to do that for ourselves to see if the sticker is good or whatever, but it's very, very difficult. So having it on the lower left-hand side is going to help law enforcement, and it's going to help us as well. The sticker process is very smooth. It works really well. The one thing that I think Tony touched on it a little bit is that we've been broken into our dealership 2 times in the last 10 years, and nobody stole the TVs. We have iPads laying around, keys to the cars. Nobody's
They
taking
want,
anything.
the stickers.
They stole the stickers. So I welcome this. I think it's going to be very difficult for them with this new QR code to print them off on computers, but there are some evil people out there. But I just want to commend the Parsons has done a great job, and the Department of Motor Vehicles has been very, very helpful. There are always a few kinks, but for the most part, it's very smooth. I just went around this morning, spoke to all of my technicians that use the machine, and they love it. So I think it's a great thing.
That's
Progress.
good. Very good.
That's all I have to say.
But that's good to hear. Thank you. What kind of cars are those behind you on your shelf there? Those Corvettes or what?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I don't have as many, I have as many little model Corvettes as you have regular Corvettes.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it. Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you. Thank you.
Okay. Yep. All right. Anybody else in the waiting room who wants to? I guess we're all set. Okay. Thank you very much. And it's 9:45. Well, 9:55. We're going to move on to electrification of state fleet vehicles. That's our next on our agenda. Thank you. Yep. Okay, we have Harmony Wilder with us this morning.
I see her in the room, but I don't hear her.
Okay. I think we have 3 folks this morning. Oh, we got more. We got more. We got like 5 folks. I think.
Ms. Wilder may think she has 5 more minutes because it's only 5 to 10. I don't.
Oh, you got it. You got it down here. 9:45.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
I'm having trouble with my microphone. Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
So are you ready for us now?
Sure. Yeah, we're ready. Yeah, because we got down 9:45. So okay. All right. Okay. We're going to talk about electrification of state vehicles, and I think we have the Commissioner, Department of Buildings, and Brad McAvery. We got a few folks. So you want to lead off this morning?
Certainly will. Good morning, Chair and committee members. So for the record, I'm Harmony Wilder, AOT Fleet Manager, and I'm going to share my screen now if that's possible.
Okay.
Harmony, can I ask you a quick question while you're figuring that out?
Sure.
Who's the new Harmony at BGS, or we will learn that later? Because you did do all this job there, right?
Yeah, they're still recruiting for that position.
Okay.
And I'm assisting as best as that I can, being that I've got a foot in the AOT store here. So.
Wait till we get all those dump trucks electric, boy. They're going to use some juice.
We're not quite there yet.
I don't think so, not yet.
So good morning. So let me start out by saying that, being the previous BGS fleet manager, I was very familiar with AOT's light duty fleet. And I can say that AOT has always been interested in electrifying their light duty fleet as much as possible. In fact, in 2005, they added their first hybrid electric vehicle, which was a Honda Civic. It was just a standard hybrid. But in 2005, that was pretty cutting edge. They added their first plug-in hybrid, which was a Chevy Bolt in 2013. And in 2017, they received the state's first fully electric fleet vehicle. So that was exciting, and they were definitely interested in deploying those so that they could test them in the various applications. And as I'm sure you all know, they added the live wire to the DMV enforcement fleet this last year. So also exciting. The agency's light duty passenger fleet is still primarily leased from BGS. So that when I say light duty passenger fleet, I'm specifically speaking to sedans and the SUV type vehicles, the station wagons, the minivans, not the trucks, because as of last year, the trucks were not available at a cost-effective price in battery electric or plug-in vehicle. So we have 46% of the agency's light-duty passenger fleet are electric, which also includes the standard hybrid vehicles. I know, there's some interest in changing the definition of what's considered a ZEV, but for right now, we're still going with the existing language, which includes the standard hybrids. Going forward, we're looking at various applications which we think may be suitable for electric. DMV enforcement vehicles is under consideration. However, we just met with Ford, and there is some concern that the Ford Mach-E and the Ford Lightning and other battery electric vehicles may not be suitable to support the radio lights and those sorts of things. So that was disappointing because we did purchase a Mach-E with the hope of deploying it to the DMV enforcement fleet. However, at this point in time, we're going to probably put it in the districts for more administrative time. We have 6 Ford Lightnings on order. Those will be utilized in the AOT fleet for project managers, site visits, administrative travel, where you need to bring equipment with you. And we don't know when those will arrive. We're hoping within the next year. The orders have far exceeded their production capabilities at this point. I believe they've said they've received 1,500 orders from the Northeast government fleets, and they're guaranteeing 500 to be fulfilled in the model year 2022. So about a third of those orders will be fulfilled in 2022, and the remainder will be fulfilled in the model year 2023.
What's the Ford, the Lightning, the 6 of them? What's the range on those? Are they 300 miles or 400 miles or?
Yeah, well, we got the extended range battery, so
Okay.
they're a little less than 300.
Okay. Thank you.
Specialty equipment such as forklifts. That is an area that we believe that switching to electric could be successful. We're also looking at the heavy duty trucks and equipment. So while not the plow trucks yet, bucket trucks are a possibility, as well as tractor trucks. So the vehicles that we use to haul water, tow signboards, those kinds of things, those in flatbed trucks, those will be good applications, we think, for the electric application. And then the cargo vans. So our mechanics use cargo vans to perform roadside service when we have breakdowns, and they have specific regions that they serve. So we think that switching their current cargo vans over to like the electric transit vans and similar will be good applications. So Brad McAvoy, who is the facilities manager for AOT, has done a lot of work on installing charging stations to support the electric vehicles that we're going to be putting in. So I will, I'm going to switch over to him so that he can share their most recent projects.
Good morning, committee. I'll briefly touch on a couple slides here regarding the installations we just completed in late December. We went around and did 7 new installs at our regional and district offices, where we now have a level 2 dual head at each of those locations. We currently already had a location, District 6 which is at the Dill Building, and District 4 in White River. Under a previous project, we installed a dual head level 2. We utilized Apex Solar, which is a BGS contracted vendor, to do the EV charging installations, and it was a collaborative effort with district forces. We utilized our maintenance personnel for excavation. They performed the dig safe work, helped with the backfilling. So that was a collaborative project where we were able to save some money on that. So in total now we have 10 locations that have level 2 dual head chargers. The average cost per site, depending on how much underground work we had to do or upgrades to our panels, was around $12,700. Next slide, Harmony. So these are the locations, like I just said, 10 locations. Berry City Place, at one of our larger office buildings, also has it. And these are the locations that we now have. So every district office is covered. We have, on the 91 corridor from Derby to all the way down to Bennington, each corner of the state, we've got good coverage. So if we are on the road, and this is specifically for our internal fleet, a lot of these are behind locked gates. At the end of the day, they're more for as we build out our fleet, for district staff or a regional engineer or a technician, we'll be able to station those overnight and leave them plugged in. We are looking at 6 additional sites, some of them central garage locations, as well as a couple outliers where we'll be able to expand our coverage. Next slide, Arlene. Just quickly, before we can open to questions, I just want a couple quick slides. I touched about this in some previous testimony, but Tunbridge Garage, we just recently completed a kind of a green project there. Our first garage where we've got solar, we replaced a ceiling mounted hot air furnace with heat pumps. So with a combination of the heat pumps, the solar, we're pretty much, other than the fuel tank for the truck, we're fully green there and greatly reduce our carbon emissions. Next slide, Harmony. And this is just a couple photos of the inside of the garage. We do have wood there for backup. We did go in and spray foam the inside of the garage just to kind of contain the heat. There's 2 3.5 ton heat pumps here. We did put in the cold weather pumps that'll operate down to 18 below. We actually went to the site last week, one of my field staff, and I think it was the morning, it was like 24 below, and the garage was nice and toasty in there, no problems with that. So that was overall a good project to see where we can go on future work. Our next upcoming garage project replacements in Lunenburg, and that garage we're going to design with heat pumps and wood backup as well.
Ask a question, Chair.
Yes, go right ahead.
Sure.
So Brad, on the previous slide, I just have to ask, with those solar panels, when you put them in, did you think, or as you look to future projects, do you see any possible utility in finding the cantilever structure so that you raise those up off the ground so you can also park vehicles underneath it or have a barbecue that might have some clouds to keep you shielded from the elements or so on? Did that factor in? Did you consider the higher structure solar panels to get some use of the space underneath?
At this point, Senator, we did not. This project, we actually installed the solar around 5 years ago. So technology's changed quite a bit. At this point, this was early on when we were able to gain the full capability of, the net metering. We offset several garages utility bills with these sites. We did this as an internal project. We haven't expanded our solar a lot yet because there's been some changes with the requirements and things, but we certainly would look to expand that in the future.
Senator Mazza, just a comment, please.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I'd love to find out who, I'd like to hire this company that you guys use to put these chargers in. We had testimony yesterday, and we didn't see very many $12,700 charging systems. They were a lot more expensive than that. So boy, I'd love to get a hold of that company and have them step in on some of these other charging sites we're talking about.
Well, granted, keep in mind, these were level 2s. As we expand our fleet, as Harmony stated, if we were to get some of the bucket trucks or eventually like a baby dump or small plow truck, where we're going to probably require level 3, then the cost jumps significantly. But for now, to go with the level 2s, we were able to keep the costs fairly reasonable.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Senator Engels, I'll also point out that this didn't, because we used our own equipment and own staff, we also had some savings on the installation of the charging station. So I'm not sure if the information you had included all of the site work.
Harmony, I think we're just going to come hire you guys to put them in. I like that number a lot better than what we're seeing. So yeah, I think be ready. We're going to be knocking on your door.
Don't count on it. All right, go ahead.
I believe BGS is in the room too. I'm not sure if they want to take over, if there's any more questions on the
Any other
AOT
questions
portion.
before we move on to Commissioner Fitz?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay, go right ahead.
Harmony, so it's about 60 vehicles, light duty vehicles total that AOT has?
I believe it's, yes, about 63, but I don't have the number right off the top of my head. I'm happy to give you the breakdown now.
Okay, because I just figured the 46% of the 30 there. And you remember when you were at BGS, we had the requirement that you were working on a BGS of slowly increasing the number. That doesn't apply to AOT, or does it, because a lot of the vehicles AOT uses they're getting from BGS?
It applies via the BGS mandate. So any of our light duty passenger fleet would have to comply with that because we obtain them from BGS. But if we pass them directly, it does not apply. However, we don't typically purchase them directly unless they're for highway maintenance, which isn't often.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. All right. We'll move on to Jennifer, I guess, at this point. Okay. Commissioner Jennifer, are you on this morning?
I am.
Well, we get to see you in the afternoon and we get to see you in the morning, huh? Wow.
I love spending my days with you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Okay, go ahead, take it away.
Thank you so much for being here. I feel like we were late to the party, so I don't know when VTrans started, but we were invited to come in at 9. So I was anticipating.
9 o'clock? Oh no, we got you down here for 9:45. Uh-oh.
I was
Well,
sorry, 10 o'clock. So I was anticipating us all coming in at the same time, but that's okay.
Our
That's
agenda,
all
our
right.
agenda, I think our agenda said 9:45. Maybe didn't have an update one or something.
Yeah, you have an agenda, Senator.
So thank you for bringing BGS in to testify today about our fleet. So we have the centralized fleet program for the state, which means that we provide really 2 functions. One is we have a motor pool, and that's your daily rental vehicle. And we have several motor pool locations throughout the state. If an employee needs to travel for the day, they basically put in an application online, and then we provide a vehicle for them, and then we charge accordingly. The second aspect of the program is that we also provide leased vehicles for agencies and departments as well. As Harmony indicated, we do have some carve-outs for certain agencies and departments to buy their own vehicles, but we are the primary provider of leased vehicles for the state of Vermont. With respect to electrification of the fleet, because I know that's everybody's very interested in that, we have some really good news to share. And we did provide a couple of documents for you today. I don't feel that we need to pull them up, but hopefully you have access to those documents as well. So the vehicles that are more easy for us to meet the requirements for hybrid and fully electric are our light duty vehicles. And that's because many of the, what I will call not light duty vehicles, and I know we classify them in different ways, are not readily always available for, electric vehicles. And so some of this is being driven by the market. But certainly for light duty vehicles, we have several options there. Last year, I'm excited to share with folks that we purchased a total of 45 new vehicles, light duty vehicles. And of those, all of them but one were either hybrid or fully electric. So that's great news. We are well over the requirement of what was 50% and then went up to 75% of all new purchases being, either plug-in hybrid, regular hybrid, plug-in hybrid, or fully electric. So we are doing our part to electrify the fleet. The other important piece that's even better news, I believe, is that we're seeing a decrease in travel, which if we don't have to drive any vehicle whatsoever, whether it's electric or whether it's, diesel or gas, that's better for the environment all around. And so throughout the pandemic, when many of our employees were working remotely, they were doing a lot of their meetings through what we're doing today, either Zoom or Teams or some other form of remote meeting. And we found that state employees really like that option versus driving. Before the pandemic, they'd often drive somewhere in the state for administrative travel for meetings. And so right now we're taking this opportunity to really right size our fleet. We also have agencies and departments who are leasing vehicles who, again, because they're doing a lot less administrative travel, are saying they no longer need the lease vehicle and they're starting to turn them in. So rather than buying new at this point, what we're trying to do is use our existing stock of vehicles so that we're utilizing the vehicles we have within all of our portfolio of vehicles, rather than simply saying, okay, it's time to buy new. So I'm going to take this vehicle. Normally we start looking at phasing them out between 80,000 and 100,000 miles and around 6 years. And so rather than sort of being hard and fast on that, we're trying to recycle, if you will, what we have in our existing fleet. By doing that, we're saving taxpayer dollars and we're allowing ourselves to right size those vehicles over time. Now, obviously, many employees now are working hybrid. And so we do see that there might be a slight uptick in that administrative travel, but our assumption is, or our prediction is that administrative travel will continue to be reduced over time because, again, people are really enjoying remote meetings versus, driving to have a meeting in person. So we've been doing a great job there. I also have with me today, Mr. Chairman, Brian Sewell, who is from our energy office. So just to give a little bit of thumbnail on that, we are the energy office for all state buildings in the state. That includes VTrans, ANR, ourselves, and military, because those are all the folks that can have some buildings under their portfolio. And our job is to not only focus on our own buildings under BGS's portfolio, but all state buildings, regardless of whose jurisdiction they fall under. And so Brian is the person that is leading that initiative, and he can provide some information today with respect to that program, but also what we've been doing to build out our charging stations. Now, one thing that's really important to know, because I know that there is a bill, I believe in the House right now, is that we don't have the ability to go fully plug-in or fully electric unless we have enough charging stations. And we don't have an appropriation for charging stations. We were given some funding by Governor Scott a couple of years ago, $500,000. And with that money, we bought fully electric vehicles, and we are currently installing more charging stations around the state. That all being said, it is not sufficient for us to go fully plug in at this time. It's kind of an order of operations issue, right? Got to have the charging station so people can plug in. And then we can shift over to, for the vehicles we can obviously procure that are fully plug-in, we can do that. But without having enough charging stations, I unfortunately won't be able to continue to only have plug-in hybrids or plug-in fully electric vehicles. So I just wanted to flag that for folks, because I am expecting that bill may make it to the Senate at some point, and having some funding dedicated to BGS will be important for that build out of all the plug-in vehicles. So that's broad brush, high level, Mr. Chairman. I'm not sure if you want to hear anything else from me.
No, I just, one quick question, Commissioner. What's that, when you go to purchase the vehicles, you have to have a larger amount of funds to purchase them? I mean, are they that much more expensive than what you've been buying, or how does that compare?
So are you talking about the cost of a plug-in, for example?
Yes,
versus-
yes, yeah, well,
So-
yeah. You said you're up to 47 or 45 now, so
Yeah.
are they comparable when you buy them, or the prices are a lot different?
We actually overall, so that's what we bought in the last year, Mr. Chairman, but we actually have 149 electric vehicles that are either hybrid, plug-in hybrid,
Wow.
or fully electric.
Wow.
But in terms of the cost, if you wouldn't mind, Mr. Chairman, you know the expert on this
Okay.
in this room. And if
Yep.
I could segue over to Harmony. Unfortunately, she does not work for BGS anymore. We were very sad to have lost her. But she's still the one that has most of this knowledge. We haven't filled, unfortunately, that position yet. So if it's okay to segue to Harmony, she likely can do a much better job answering this question than I can.
Okay, that would be it. Thank you. Go ahead. Harmony, that's just a quick question I had, please.
Yes, there is a higher upfront cost. The savings come through the operating cost, which is the fuel and the maintenance repair. The way BGS fleet programs funding is set up is it's an internal service fund. So they also are able to run the program, I guess, in a deficit if need be. We hope that the revenues that we charge out will cover the cost. So it's a little bit of a reverse. So we're paying the cost up front for the vehicle, and then all the maintenance and repair, and then we're billing out the agency or department on a monthly basis for the cost of that vehicle. So while it might cost us more up front, we're capturing that cost over the full length of the vehicle. So we get it back eventually.
Yeah.
But the agency or department may pay a slightly higher cost. However, if the maintenance and repair and the fuel is lower, then it should balance out and reflect, either they may pay more on their lease rate, but get, pay less in their fuel bill.
Good, thank you. I figured that's something like that. Okay. All right, okay, so we're gonna move, who's next on the list?
I believe Brian Sewell, Mr. Chairman, and he can
Okay.
talk about.
All right, go ahead, we'll switch to Brian. Okay, Brian.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman Mazza. Thank you, Madam Commissioner, for the introduction. Hopefully everyone can hear me. For the record, my name is Brian Sewell. I'm the State Energy Program Manager Coordinator under BGS, and that's SEMP. So if we use the acronym SEMP, that's what we mean, the State Energy Management Program. And as Commissioner Fitch mentioned, under that, we have charging stations for electric vehicles becoming part of the work that we're doing. So brief summary of where the current status lands. We have about $250,000 that was spent out of the administration's gift of 500. That was spent on 13 level 2 charging stations for a total of 24 ports. And I mentioned the difference because some stations have a single port, other stations will have dual ports. You saw in AOT's slides that a lot of their stations, they've got the 2 charging ports, one on each side of the station. So just to clarify that. And those stations were built out across 4 locations. So we had 4 in Rutland at the Asa Bloomer building. We had 7 in Montpelier behind 134, 136 State Street. 1 in Springfield at Southern State Correctional Facility, and 1 up in Newport at the Newport office building. In total, there are 29 electric vehicle charging stations across the state under this program with 47 ports. That includes older stations which aren't networked. What we're trying to do under our program is ensure that all the stations built out now are networked. That's important for 2 reasons. One is it allows us to collect the data on the charging sessions. And a session is essentially once someone swipes in and they plug, you can see how long they were plugged in for, how much energy was drawn. So you have that data and impact, which kind of gives you a sense of how much they're being used. But also network stations are able to sort of assess a fee and work with the drivers through the program that way. So we want smart stations so that we can collect the data and understand how they're being used. A lot of this information came out of a workplace charging station survey that was conducted end of December 2019 through January of 2020. We've used that information to work out where the state employees across Vermont are interested in electric vehicle charging stations as part of their commute to work. So we looked at how many folks are interested in buying an EV in the future, how many have them now. That way we can start to build out based on the current drivers and get a sense of what the market's going to look like in the future. And as we're seeing through reports from Drive Electric Vermont, in the market in general, EVs are on the rise, and that's true for Vermont, and that's true for Vermont state employees. And so we know that the demand for workplace charging is going to be a continuing area of growth. And so we want to be ready to receive those employees as part of our overall strategy to reduce transportation emissions. So I can pause there. I'll just mention briefly that we were awarded an additional $75,000 from the legislature for new charging stations, and those are currently in the process of being built out at the Colchester New Health Lab, the Middlebury Mahady Courthouse, and the Bennington Court and Office. We did that because we looked at the state's existing infrastructure. There's a lot of stations that were put in along the main transportation routes of 91, 89. But we also see that Vermont state employees are using Route 7 to commute to work. And that was sort of an area that we wanted to help bolster the availability of chargers. One, because we had people respond to the survey and say they're there and they need them. But 2, because this also reduces range anxiety. So the more stations we have built out, the less people feel nervous that they won't be able to pull in somewhere and charge.
Brian, people that do they charge? Some folks take their cars home at night. Can they charge at home or no? Or that they have to charge at a charging station at the state?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is a question regarding bringing a state vehicle home, just to clarify?
State vehicle home, because I know a lot of them take their vehicles home with them, right? So can they charge at home, or you pay them, or how's that work?
Yeah, that's I think a question that we're trying to sort the answer out to right now. So one of the questions that will come up, as you mentioned, is that people are going to take vehicles home. If they don't have an existing charging station that's at a level 2 rate, they could just plug into a general outlet. Who pays for that? That's a big question. And I might defer to Commissioner Fitch on where those discussions are going. But thank you, sir. It's a great question, and one that we'll need to sort out as people continue to build out EVs and take them home.
I know a lot of people take their vehicles home with them or from state employees. So I just wondered if they charge all night long, or because otherwise during the day, they got to go somewhere and charge for 2-3 hours or somewhere. So how do you do that? Commissioner, he put it back in your court.
He did. I saw that. So I don't know the answer to that question, and I'm not sure if Harmony does either. but we can certainly get back to you on that. Traditionally, right, if you have a gas vehicle, then they get a card, right? So they go to the pump, they fill up their vehicle, they put it on a card. I'm not sure how it works if it's an electric vehicle and they go home and they plug it in, and maybe we haven't addressed that yet. I'm not sure. Harmony, do you know the answer to that question?
It has not been addressed yet, but it is being bargained with the union, I believe, at this time to find a mechanism that would allow us to capture that information and reimburse the employee. So that is one of the challenges that we are facing with deploying electric vehicles, for folks that need to take them home.
Okay, thank you.
Senator
Maza.
Yeah, right ahead.
Question, Senator Perto, about the light duty fleet for AOT, and it is 65 light duty passenger. And I'll also add that we have 42 trucks that we lease from BGS. So our total is, what is it? 106.
Okay. Yeah, Senator Ingalls.
Does just open to anybody, I guess. A while ago, I don't know. Sometimes with what you hear, just kind of bothers you a little bit. And one of my colleagues' wife got stuck charging at a DMV site, which we're all thankful that she was able to do that. Is there emergency charging for the general public? Should they be on the grounds of being stranded at one of these sites? Is there provisions for that, or is it just strictly for the state vehicles?
Are you referencing the electric vehicle charging stations that we are putting in as the state?
Yes. Yeah. So like the DMV sites, like at the DMV sites that have the charging stations to charge their vehicles, if we had a person of the general public that just wasn't going to make it someplace, are they allowed to come in there and charge to get them at least further along to a public charging site? Is there a policy in place for that?
I can see a line of people saying, I can't make it to the next one. I want us to jump in and stay.
Yeah.
So it's an evolving discussion. Right now we do have, charging stations throughout the state, and there are no current restrictions in place that prevent people from charging at those locations. There are certain charging stations that were specifically put in for the fleet, that was put in by the fleet management program, and those really are meant for the fleet program to make sure we're charging those vehicles. However, during the day, often those vehicles are on the road, and so those charging stations are free, if you will, to be used, so long as at night when the vehicles come back, right, they can go and they can charge there. We also have, as Brian's indicated, put in additional charging stations that are really intended for state employees and visitors to our buildings as well. So currently, there is nothing that restricts anybody from being able to use one of those charging stations, but it is an evolving conversation.
Senator Engel, don't go showing up and get your electric vehicle charged, okay? Senator Pertzel.
And Commissioner Fitch, are any of those, are you charging? Like, I know along the ones along the State House, they're just basically all free because that was cheaper than dealing with all the issues of trying to charge. But is that the case for all the charging stations that BGS has put in?
So right now, currently, BGS is not what I like to call charging for charging. So what happens right now is all of those charging stations are what's included in our fee for space program. So when people go to charge their vehicles, the electricity, right, that they are being provided gets charged back to basically our operations and maintenance program, which is called fee for space, which ultimately means that the people that pay fee for space, right, which is internal agencies, departments, and branches of government, are the ones paying for that. I will tell you that there's so few, we looked at the impact. Because there's so few, it's a small impact right now. But if we were to build out charging stations and have them at many of our state buildings, that small number will get larger. And so again, it's an evolving conversation. And then the other thing that makes it really challenging is that if we were to charge a rate at the state, we just want to recover our costs, right? We don't want to make a profit. But if we're also trying to get the private sector to install charging stations and manage them, they are likely going to want some profit. So now what happens if my charging station charges less
Right.
than the charging station down the street? And now the state is competing with the private sector. And so it's definitely something that requires a lot of thought in terms of how we want to roll it out. But like I said, we're having those ongoing discussions with many of our partners.
One quick follow-up.
Yes, go ahead.
Sure. Are you working with AOT? Yeah. Are you working with like AOT planning? Because they come in and talk about all the millions of dollars they're spending from the infrastructure on charging stations. So I'm assuming you are, but just want to confirm that, the needs of BGS and the plans of BGS are all coordinated with the plans of AOT, and where if there's places where charging stations can work for BGS at night, but the public in the day, that seems like, just want to make sure those conversations are happening.
So I can respond to that, Senator Perchlik, and let you know that I have been, as well as Eric and Brian and others within BGS, having those ongoing conversations. My current understanding from VTrans is that BGS is not eligible. However, that's why I'm letting you all know that there is a bill that's floating, and the interpretation of that bill is that BGS is not eligible for that funding. However, I agree that in order for us to continue to build out the network, we are going to need some dedicated funding.
Well, we got the right person on this committee. Senator Kitchell has all the money.
Right.
So as long as she gets the message, all set.
Well, actually, this conversation is reminiscent of one we had a few years ago around charging and, state facilities. And certainly we were thinking about in our state parks. And I thought we had some language there. We struggled with it. And I don't know how many years ago, Senator Perchlik, were you part of those discussions? I think Senator Ash was on the committee, and we had this whole discussion around state-owned charging and how that would work and that language. We ought to take a look at that. Does that need to be amended?
So I can speak a little bit to where you are correct, Senator Kitchell. There was language in a prior capital bill that did compel BGS to, for lack of a better term, again, charge for charging. We spent quite a bit of time trying to figure out what the rate should be, or what the recommended rate should be, again, just to be cost neutral. And we also worked with several other state partners such as ACCD and VTrans and others that are trying to, promote this technology throughout the state. And ultimately, we were never able to come to alignment on what that rate should be. And again, how that then impacts the private sector and the rollout of the charging stations. So we have not charged for charging yet, but the reason why we haven't is because it's very complicated, and it depending on how you look at it, it goes one way or the other.
That's a dangerous road. If we start competing with the private sector, that's going to be, that's like selling gasoline cheaper than we got to be careful how we handle that one. Yeah.
Or the extent to which we partner with the entities that are in the business and have the billing capability, which was the real problem for state government.
Jane, you remember Senator Ash was so adamant about more electric vehicles in the state fleet. Remember that? He promoted that all the time. That was one of his things. He was.
Yeah. Well, now we're exceeding the targets.
Yeah, that's right. That Commissioner Finch, she oversees a lot there. It's going to be nice to her. Boy, it's a lot of departments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, if you want to have heat in the building, I suppose.
You want heat in the building, you want a car to drive, you do furnish food too in your department or what?
We can do it all, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so who's next? Who would like to continue the discussion? Are we missing anybody? Deborah Farrell, she was on here.
She was earlier, I saw.
Okay.
She's in the meeting.
Well, we have her on our agenda, but I didn't know if she was adding anything to this discussion or.
Mr. Philcorn had his hand raised.
Okay. Mr. Philcorn, I can't see him, but go right ahead, jump right in.
here I am. Maybe I will appear once I start talking.
What's a meeting without you in it? You know what I mean?
Well,
Come on.
exactly.
You know, that's,
You always-
no.
I talk about past history. What about those signs, Eric, for funded projects?
You know,
So that taxpayers can see their money at work?
Senator Kitchell, I think you perhaps know that former Commissioner Chris Cole lives about a quarter mile away from me through the woods, and we drive up the same road home from work every day.
Boy.
And
For you.
last summer, yes,
For
last
you.
summer, a sign went up in a rocky ditch at the bottom of our hill that said Clean Water Project, and we have been admiring it. It is still there, I believe. So they are actually out and about.
Oh, there was an editorial or in the New York Times talking about so much of what government does is not really fully appreciated or even taken. It's hidden. It's sort of submerged, and so it does raise the question because people actually see the benefit of government investments every day, but it's just not made very visible or taken for granted. So in a small way, those signs are a way of having people see the benefit of the what government is doing. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So I thought I would ask you how we were doing there, because I thought you would be disappointed if no one asked.
I appreciate the question, and I'm pleased to be able to report that I have seen the signs out in the field, so they are working.
More than one, I'm assuming.
More than one, just in my neighborhood, just around Richmond. But I, Mr. Chairman, was just going to throw in a anecdotal personal statement. In June, we joined the Electric Car Club, and we've put already 18,000 miles on the vehicle. When I worked at AOT, we used to take a couple of days and just go and drive the projects and appreciate the roads and the bridge work and that kind of stuff. And so I've been actively kind of experimenting with operating an electric vehicle as a state employee and seeing that I can drive to Newport and go and have a meeting for an hour. I plug in at the Chittenden Bank across the street, but by the time the meeting's over, I have enough juice to get back. And I think that kind of surety that when you go to a state office with an electric vehicle from Montpelier, you're going to be able to land in a spot and charge and get home safely is really important. And so, filling out places like Route 7 with Mahady and the other spots that aren't necessarily interstate close to a supercharger, I think is a really important backfill for us. And where we're at with the deployment of EVs is something like where we were at with cell phones 20 years ago or Wi-Fi. If you remember people, crouching in corners in airports, finding an outlet and poaching power, that's kind of how the cars are working right now. When I first bought my car, I drove it back from New York and I thought I was going to make it home. And then I got the little alert, no, you're out of luck, dude. And I actually found a charger at Champlain Valley Union High School back by the bus barn. And I was able to plug into it, and they had a method where I could pay with a credit card. But there are a lot of kind of informal networks, and people know, oh, there's a plug back there and there's a plug back there. But I think that if we all work together, and AOT and BGS, and probably active communication with the private sector, we can build the right network. And Brian Sewell is now raising his hand, and I will stop.
Does the commissioner give you a car or what?
No, actually, my wife did.
Okay. I just want to know if the commissioner gave you one or not. Okay. All right. Okay.
And I'm not charging for mileage. This is a personal experiment.
Oh, what a nice guy.
I do have a question. There's an app that tells you where all the charging stations are. How is the process to get that updated as more and more charging stations are brought on, whether they're, state funded through our investments or through agreements? Maybe the power companies are installing them in various places. How does that information on that app get updated and kept current?
I'm betting
Anybody know?
Drive Electric Vermont would probably know best, but maybe Brian does. I've had patchy experience.
Thank you. Yes, Senator Kitchell. So I think one of the groups that I'm aware of is Plug in America. It's a national nonprofit, and you can pull up through their program the location of stations, what type of station, is it a 1, 2, or 3, who owns it, is there a fee? And so right now there's a lot of planning that can go into longer trips, which I think is part of what you're expanding on, is how can we make this available? And I think part of this is partnerships with the vehicle manufacturers. They can pull up on that screen that's now becoming ubiquitous in everybody's dashboard. You pull over and hit like you would for where's the closest gas station, where's the closest charger that's public. And then you can see how much battery life you have to get to that next station. And so it still takes a little bit of planning for longer drives right now, but I think as this gets built out, and ChargePoint is one of the first companies that really took on large scale charging programs, and we have ChargePoint stations, and I think they work with public groups like that to make available to the drivers, how quickly they can get to the station, so that everyone's kind of trying to chip away at range anxiety and make electric vehicles more commonplace. But even beyond that, within our state employee pool, based on the survey, we saw within 3 years the number of people commuting to work with EVs was going to more than triple. And so that's a big impact coming our way. And part of this is, and I'll come back to Commissioner Fitch's request for funds. We want to be ready to handle this increase and make people comfortable commuting to work in electric vehicles, partly because it's part of our state's goals for reducing emissions, but also we want to keep the state of Vermont a place where people want to come to work and attract good employees. And so, charging stations being available is just part of the world that we're in. So any funding that we can get that helps us continue to meet those needs, it's going to be greatly appreciated. And so I just want to thank you all for the time today, and I'll yield back.
It's interesting. 20 years from now, they'll look back and say, you know what they were talking about back then? Where to charge your car? And it's going to be so easy. 20 years, it's just amazing for those of you who will be here to experience.
It'll be like Wi-Fi at the State House.
Yes. Anything else? Deborah is with us. Anything you want to add, Deborah, to this conversation?
No. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning.
The fleet currently has 679 vehicles, and as the commissioner mentioned, 149 of them are electric vehicles.
Oh, that's great. Well, that's a good figure.
We're going to make an effort to educate our customers on the different kinds of electric vehicles. So going forward, yeah, and we miss Harmony.
There, Harmony, you got your job. There it is. You got 2 jobs. You want them.
Can't handle both.
Any other questions or comments this morning on this subject? It's going to be an ongoing discussion. It's a good one to have. And where a lot of progress has been made, but there's still more it's not easy. There's a lot of transition here. Yeah.
Commissioner Fitch has her hand
Yes.
up.
Yes, Commissioner, I can't see you. Go right ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to respond to Senator Ingalls' prior question. So we have centralized procurement as one of the many hats we wear, Mr. Chairman. We have centralized procurement for the state of Vermont. And oftentimes municipalities can buy off of our state contracts. I can't speak specifically to the current contract we have because I don't know, but most of our contracts are open to municipalities. And so towns are welcome to buy off our contracts. And so if that is something you're interested in pursuing, I certainly can connect you with the Office of Purchasing Contracting and see if you can tap into that contract.
Thank you.
I've learned a lot about the Commissioner of State Buildings. She's got her hand in a lot of things here, and she knows what's going on all over the place. So I got to be careful now. Wow. The other commissioners used to delegate all their authority to other people, but she's a work in progress.
They call me engaged, Mr. Chairman. I'm a very engaged commissioner.
I guess I can't fool you very easily. Okay, any other questions this morning? Yes,
Mr. Chairman,
Eric.
I'm just curious, have you ever driven an electric vehicle?
I went around the block with a Tesla a year or 2 ago. Last time Vermont player Tim Ash's aide in his office had one. And I went around the block of Montpelier once, but I was amazed at two things. Number one, the power that it had. And number two, there's no noise. And you know, for us car guys, we like the noise, you know, it's silent. You don't hear anything. You step on the gas and you just go, and you let up on the gas, the car stops. It's so strange.
They have an option now where you can generate a vroom over the external speakers if you want to, you know, conspicuously rev. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure you had an opportunity to experience the pickup. I thought you'd appreciate it.
With it. And it was very, you just touched the gas pedal, you were gone. I mean, it was amazing. But the only thing it's hard to get used to is the silence. It really was strange, you know.
And you don't need the brakes.
No, you let up on the gas, or the guy who keeps saying gas, you let up on the power and it slows right down. It stops almost. So yeah.
Well, it's recharging while it's slowing.
I guess so. So probably if I'm nice to Jennifer, probably we'll get a company car or something. You know, you never know. She got so many of them, was 600 or so, you know. God.
I have to say that I have anxiety when it comes to driving a fully electric vehicle. I had the opportunity to do I had to do some administrative travel one day, and all they had was fully electric in Montpelier. And it was going to be during a snowstorm, and I had tight time frames back and forth. I was going to the AGC annual meeting, and I had to be back for the Christmas tree lighting ceremony. And so I have to say that I asked for a hybrid instead because I was nervous about fully electric. So I'm hoping that either Eric or somebody else takes the commissioner out so that I can experience driving a fully electric vehicle, plugging it in, so that I feel, I that nervousness that I have kind of goes away. But I do think that's going to be a culture change for a lot of folks.
It is. It's going to be a very, you know, I think the younger folks will accept it a lot easier than the older folks will.
Yeah, I took a crew to Maine to look at a correctional facility. I had the commissioner and Joe Asia and Tabrina, maybe one other person in my car. And we got to Portland, and the charger plug didn't match my car. And it was only last week that I realized I was holding the adapter backwards. It actually did match, and I was just too much of a rookie. So, how do you plug this thing in?
Well, that was good morning. I thank everybody for showing up this morning, and we'll have this discussion in the future, I'm sure. Any other questions or comments before we sign off and take a break? If not, okay, committee, we're going to be on break for 15 minutes. We'll be back at 11.
Thank you so much for inviting us today.
Thank you. Great.
Long, everybody.
Thank you.